Hey everybody, Joe here again, and I'm at the Molten Barns in Grand Teton, and there's one up over, it's over my shoulder over here. This is the famous one. This is the one everybody wants to photograph. However, there's another barn here that doesn't get anywhere near as much love, but it's very graphical, and I love taking photographs of it. Now, I was here the other day, and it was very contrasty, but there was just clouds in the background, and it made the front of the barn very dark, the clouds very bright. The camera raw just didn't do a good job of capturing it. It was going to take some massaging and software to really even out those tones. So let me walk over a little bit here so you can actually see this other barn I'm talking about. So again, it's going to be over way off in the distance, and it's over here. So that's the other barn I'm after. I find I've shot it at angles and it's okay, but I find when you shoot it straight on, it almost has that primitive art kind of feel because it's a very graphical shape. And against the clouds and the mountains in the distance, it's a really cool place. So let's take an image that was very contrasty, lost its light, lost its color, and we're going to turn it from a really bland raw file into a really pretty photograph. Let's make it happen. Here we are on the northern end of Mormon Row in Grand Teton National Park. This is a building known as the Thomas Murphy Barn, and it's a very graphical piece. I love coming up here, and this barn doesn't get anywhere near as much attention as the other two more famous ones down the road, but I like its graphical nature. So what are the problems? Well, look at the histogram. We have everything really light, and we have everything really dark. There's absolutely nothing in the middle here. And it was a contrasty scene to begin with, and the raw conversion made it worse. So let's just go up to basics and fix that right away. And the easiest thing to do is just bring the highlights all the way down, bring the shadows all the way up. I'm going to bring the exposure down a little bit, and then we're going to add some texture, some clarity, and this is going to need a bunch of dehaze. And then we'll add some vibrance and saturation, and look at that already. Just that quickly, we've gone from there to there, but we need to fine tune it now. The sky is still too bright, and the barn is a little bit too dark. So let's fix these things. So we're going to do that with a graduated filter. So I'm going to get the graduated filter, and I'm going to click very near the horizon, and then I'm going to drag down. Now I have the overlay turned on. Now if I turn that off, you don't see that, but when you turn the overlay on, it shows you what it is that is going to be affected by whatever changes you make. Now, I don't want the barn to be affected. This is just all about the sky. So what I need to do is come up to where it says brush over here, and I'm going to hold down the Alt key, which turns our brush into a minus. I need to turn on auto mask if it wasn't turned on, because what that's going to allow me to do is to just simply click and drag through the middle of the barn. And look at that. Since auto mask is on, it doesn't affect the sky. And we'll get this little outbuilding here. It's actually a tool shed. So let's hit the O key, which is going to turn off the overlay. And what do we need to do? Well, the sky's still too bright. So let's bring the exposure down. Oh, that's looking better already. Let's add some more dehaze. Maybe that was a little too much. Bring the exposure back up. That's what the sky looked like. That's how I remember it. Now you can see we've got a little bit of haloing going on here. So let's make our brush a little bit smaller, and we'll paint closer to the edge so that we can eliminate that halo we got. All right, that's looking pretty darn good already. So let's hit done. Now the foreground, do I need to do anything to that? Yeah, let's do the same thing. We're going to grab the brush and bring that up from the bottom. Want to make some changes there. Now I'm going to hit O again so you can see it's bringing up from the bottom. But now I want to add the barn. I want to be able to lighten things up a bit. So I'm going to hit brush, and this time I'm going to leave it on plus, and I'm going to turn on auto mask. So now when I come in here and start painting, once again it only selects the things that match underneath where that plus symbol is. Now sometimes you get some grass and things that are close to the tone of the wood. That's okay. It's not going to be that much of a change that you're going to notice it. So let's hit O. Now let's lighten this up a bit. I'm going to bring up the exposure a little bit. Going to add a little more light into there. It's looking a lot better. We're going to add some clarity. And I'm going to bring up those shadows a little bit more. And that's looking already actually pretty darn good. So let's hit done. And now let's consider our final crop. What do we want our final crop to be? Actually, as I'm looking at that, the building is leaning in a little bit too much here. Let's go back to transform and straighten that up a little bit. So we've got that a lot straighter now. I'm going to crop it manually because I'm going to want to bring up some from the bottom as well. So I'm going to bring up here a little bit in the bottom, and I'm going to bring down from the top a bit. We don't need all of that as well. On the left-hand side, let's just come into that edge. And on the right, I want the peak of the barn in my right third. So I'm going to put that right there and hit enter on that. And then I'm going to add, under effects, I'm going to add a little bit of vignette. Probably my typical -12, which looks pretty good. And actually, the only thing that's bothering me is this one stone sitting in the middle of the grass. That's got to go. Yes, it was there, but... And I want it just to pick from a different piece of some grass, and that looks better. And there we go. That looks so much better. So let's go full screen on that. And look at that. We've got a very graphical picture of this barn. Right from one side, we've brought the sky down. And when you consider that that's what we started with, it's just a matter of seeing the final shot, both with your eyes and knowing what the software is going to do to allow you to really bring out the image that made you stop and take this picture in the first place. That was just all done with Lightroom, just a very simple edit, but it had really dramatic results. Now, to show you a comparison of feeling about shooting this barn straight on like this with no dimension versus showing it with dimension, here's the image we just edited, and here's an image just stepped back a little bit, shot at an angle, and it's a very different mood. It's not bad, but now you've got the mountains kind of peeking through in the background. It's a different feeling. Maybe the crop should be a little different on that one. Let's bring up the crop tool. We'll take a little bit less on the left and kind of make it more about the barn. Yeah, I think that does look a bit better. And actually now we have a little too much foreground. So maybe, and there's nothing going on the sky up that high. So let's even bring it in a little closer, maybe something like that. Okay, I do like that. Nothing wrong with it at all. It's just a different feeling. So let's go to full screen. And this edit was done exactly the same way as with the barn on the side, just using 2 graduated filters and the brush to add and subtract. So here's our barn at an angle, and here's our barn straight on. They're both interesting. Actually, as I look at this one now, I think I want a little bit less on the right. Let's fix that as well, and then we'll take one last look. So I'm going to bring this in a little bit more from the right. The bottom is okay, maybe a little less off the top. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I think I do like that a little bit better. So again, let's go full screen. And here's our barn straight on from the side. Again, I do like it. It's a very graphical shape compared to when we look at it at an angle. More conventional, more what you expect. But I don't think it quite has the impact of looking at it from straight on. But it's all personal preference. Again, both edits were done exactly the same way with graduated filters. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and I will see you online again soon. Bye-bye.